Hello, good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Adobe Live. My name's Ryan Selvey, and we were joined by Brandon Woelfel, and we're excited
Hello.
because, hey, welcome. Good morning. We're excited to dive into color grading that tells a story. Brandon, we're excited to have you on the show. Do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself real quick?
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Brandon. I am a freelance portrait photographer, currently based out of Brooklyn, New York. I grew up on Long Island, so I've kind of always been in like the New York area. And I went to school in Manhattan, College for computer art. So I kind of learned like editing before I actually learned photography, which has been like a fun kind of transition. And I have been freelancing now for like almost 10 years, which is crazy. So it's been a wild ride. It's been super fun.
Well, it's great to have you here. We have a bunch of people in the chat saying hello and good morning.
Oh,
Hello
yeah.
to Annika and Kane. We also have people over on Behance as well. Thank you for being here. And so today like I said, we're going to be working on some color grading. Do
Mhm.
you want to talk a little bit about your portrait color grading process?
Yeah, for sure. I kind of wanted to take everyone through like a shoot of mine and then like kind of dive into the color grade a little bit after because whenever I like go about my shoots, I try to get as many like different looks possible. And so today I'm going to dive through, I think it's five completely sort of like different looks that were done within like one day and
Okay,
kind of
wow,
how we
busy
can
day.
go. No, I know. With throughout my shoots, I really try to like make the most out of it because I know I feel like with freelance work and portrait photographers, like you're only shooting so many times a week. Like I try to shoot like a few times a month, and I really want to get the most out of it as I
Are you
can. And
normally
so,
renting a studio space or do you have your own studio space? How
yeah,
does that logistically work?
I usually rent. I actually love the idea of sort of like testing out new studios. People I feel like think that I have my own, but I do like the idea of like trying different studios out. I feel like they always kind of bring different like life and a different vibe to my photos because the light might be different or they have different equipment to offer. So I always try to like rent a studio, and that's what I did this day here. So you can see this was like a quick like little mood board to that one side, and then this is like the date and the time of the studio that I rented, and so that was last month.
So it's
And
all relatively new work.
yeah. So I haven't quite like edited these photos. I edited one or two out of like the five of the like different looks. So I'm excited to kind of take on these photos with like a fresh like look because I really haven't dived into them yet.
Well, thank you for
But
showing
yeah,
us your authentic process then. Very
yeah.
brave of you, but we appreciate it.
I know, I'm like, we'll see what happens, but I feel like that's the fun part.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was the studio. So it's just like a really simple studio with a backdrop. My favorite part was that it did have a rooftop, so I was able to like really change up the vibe from going from indoor to outdoor. And this is like ignore my little drawings, but I love to like sketch
No,
out.
I love the little drawings. I want to
Okay,
pay more
good.
attention to the little drawings.
Okay, good. I know I have my like little notebook here where I will literally like print out photos and then draw the lighting setup, and it may not make sense to like an average person like just seeing these little plants and like little scobos, but in my brain it makes sense, and I feel like that's all that really matters there.
That's all
But
you need.
yeah, it really helps me to be able to like go to a shoot and have the lighting set up, at least just like a quick sketch of what I might get into, just so it's like one less thing I can worry about. And I kind of
I'm gonna
always I
put.
don't yeah.
Oh no, sorry to cut you off, but I'm gonna put a poll in the chat over on YouTube, and I'm just because I'm interested over the fact that you're using physical media to do your planning, and I know some people like to have digital spaces, and other people have these cute little notebooks.
Totally.
So I'm over if you guys are watching over on YouTube, I'm just gonna put up a quick poll. Do you prefer to do digital or physical planning? And I'll
Yeah.
let you go back at it. Sorry for cutting you off.
No, cut me off whenever. I do a little bit of both myself. Like I will try to like mood board out on digital, and then like when it comes down to like trying to figure out the lighting setup, I definitely like to just like brain to paper situation because I feel like it just helps me get out what I'm like kind of thinking.
Right.
Um, and I feel like with lighting setups too, it takes me longer to do it digitally because I'm like finding like an asset for like the camera or the backdrop when like I don't really need to be like spending that much time unless I'm like, trying to show a client what I'm about to do.
Yeah.
This was more of like a creative test sort of shoot, so I kind of just pen to paper. Um,
And what are
and
you
they don't,
normally
oh,
looking
yeah.
for when you're looking for like a studio? Because I know that we on the previous slide we looked at the studio space. Is there anything that you like it needs to have natural light, or do you also work fine with artificial light?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I try to, it depends for the shoot completely, but I do like to have a studio that has natural light. I just really want there to be some like blackout curtains because
Right.
I want to be able to like control the light. So if I see a studio that's like super bright white, like walls, super big windows, like that's all nice. But if I don't have the ability to like control the light that's coming in, that kind of is like a no-go for me because I do bring a lot of my own lighting, and I'll just play this little video quick. So yeah, as you can see, it kind of didn't turn out exactly to what I just showed you previously. I had like included as like the little gobo stars to include as the lighting here, but I tested that out and it like didn't like kind of make sense with the plants.
Hmm.
So I opted for a gobo which is kind of just like a patterned like spherical little source that controls the light. And so I opted for a pattern that was more of like a palm tree.
Right.
And so we walked away with these are not edited yet.
Wow.
So what's cool is we'll dive into like the edit together. But these are just like the raw JPEGs from this shoot.
But it's cool
And
because you're
yeah,
not shooting through a leaf to get that texture. You're using an actual physical
yeah.
projection of the shadow to then add to the idea of the leaves.
Exactly. So like I could probably, if I had a really bright, hard light source, like I could probably capture some of those shadows of the plants, but to get something more like concrete, it's really cool to be able to use things like gobos.
Very cool.
Yeah, so this was the first look, and then we can dive into like the second look, which this was some inspo I have again to the left. And what's fun about this one is like it didn't go off of like the inspo at all. Like I didn't use not at all, but I didn't use like the same colors, which you'll see here. I went for like almost like an orangey yellow. But what's
Yeah,
fun
what
is
happened to that
yeah,
blue? It
I
literally
don't
said
know.
blue in big letters on your plan one.
I know it's funny how like things can completely change.
Right.
Um, I also think it's fun to be able to keep things open like on a location and when you're there because I think when you're working with a team, like, oh, maybe this like yellow sort of dress she's wearing goes better with this idea, and then we can change the light from there.
Right.
Um, so I had the pretty much exact same setup. I just moved the lights over to a backdrop and then I switched out that like palm leaf gobo for this really cool like spherical one. And I always like to kind of break down my setups from like a foreground light and a background light.
Okay.
I feel like it just breaks up um, and enhances like a photo really nicely. So yeah, these is how these ones came out
Wow.
raw
So
from
much
the
darker than I would
camera.
anticipate, but I
Oh
guess
yeah.
that's all just aperture stuff, right?
Yeah. I think um, I feel like when you're shooting with a really bright light like this, it ends up just like making the shadows really like dark and contrasted, which is really fun. And I think for this, we did try to close the blinds like completely so that we were only working with that sort of um, artificial light. And I also feel like an iPhone camera sometimes like tries to brighten up like the whole image. So it's always
Yeah,
fun
it
to
does
compare
a
that.
lot of. I hear a lot of tech guys talk about how like the lenses aren't changing that much, but the algorithmic kind of processing on the phone is changing, and that's what we're really getting when you get a new phone, and it's doing
Yeah.
a lot of work that photographers are actually having issue with because they're like, no, don't don't touch my
Yeah.
photo.
Yeah, it's very like auto mode. So
Yeah,
I just like go with it for like sometimes recording behind the scenes, but I think it's really cool to compare like what I'm seeing versus like what you might see like if you just walked into the studio when we were shooting.
for sure.
But from this part, we walked up to the rooftop, and this is one moment where I feel like the inspo like landed exactly on what we did, like almost to a T. So I made sure to like remember to bring the tablecloth, and We were sticking with that same makeup look from the other two looks, but just changing sort of the location and the props and also the outfit. And this was a little behind the scenes of
Wow.
that. And I loved this like tablecloth. I think it was like just I bought it like online for 20 bucks or something. And we got lucky with a really bright sunny day. So we were getting some of those like reflections from the pattern onto the model, which was really fun. And we also used it like as you can see here as like a backdrop. But I think my favorite was this part where we were able to like use it for its own sort of patterned
Yeah, you
lighting.
know, I already forgot what it was called. Not a govi, a gobo,
A gobo. Yeah, yeah,
a gobo. Yeah, it sounds like a
yeah.
fake name.
I know, yeah, for sure. And then these were those sort of final images there.
Wow.
And yeah, it was really fun to be able to get like a bright, because sometimes I love using natural light, but you really just never know what you're going to get when you're on the shoot day. So it was nice to be able to have like a really bright sunshiny day, you know?
We're being joined by Sean Cozell and Nate Oski over on Behance saying hello, but then also the Spirit Exchange is saying you've got dope photos over on YouTube. So
Oh,
thank you
thank you
guys
so
for being here. If you
much.
have any questions as we go along, please throw them in the chat and I will pass them along.
Yes, definitely. And then we can move on to another setup. So this was we changed up the like outfit completely, but then exchanged the like tablecloth for just like a fabric.
Yep.
And this was a really fun one. Like even though we're in the same location, I feel like we tried to play up the wardrobe to like be more sort of like editorial, I guess. It felt like very like America's Next Top Model vibes with like her holding the fabric and the wind like coming through. Like we all were just super excited in this
All the
moment. It's
joy
yeah,
without the toxicity.
yeah, very much that, very much that. I'm like, maybe not that, but
Maybe no
uh,
verbal abuse.
yeah, definitely not. Definitely not. But I also loved like the brown of like the clothing too, playing off like the pink of the fabric.
Hmm.
And luckily I had my friend who's a hair artist and then a makeup artist like hold the cloth for me, which was like so helpful because I've had shoots where if you go on my Instagram, you'll see where we tried on like a windy day to like hold this fabric up and like it's just like being thrown down and like it's going every which way. So definitely
How
helps to
many
have
people
some
do you normally have on set?
I keep it pretty low key just because I do like once I work with someone and I like vibe with them, I love to be able to like work with them again.
Hmm.
And a lot of my friends do a lot of freelance work. They work in like the theater industry. And so their schedules are also like kind of wacky. And as long as I like throw them a date like few weeks out, they're usually free as well to help assist. And they work in like wardrobe and hair. So it's so helpful to like have them. But I'll have like 4 to 5 people.
Wow.
It
Okay.
doesn't, yeah, it doesn't get like too crazy. I feel like on these big sets, you see like 20, 30. I'm like, I don't need all that. I almost
That's
like
a
having
lot.
it to be more intimate. Um, just because we're kind of like we're also just having fun. Like it's a good time. Sometimes obviously there's a client involved, but other times we're just creating for fun and we might use the images in the future for something. But yeah, these were a really fun little concept that we did. And moving on to the last setup, this was we were getting like a little bit more edgy, so she changed up the makeup, and I also incorporated Flash within this look, and I never really use Flash too much throughout my work, and if I do, I like to combine it with continuous lighting because I'm very familiar and have a good grasp on that. So whenever I start to like include flash, my brain has to like work overtime. So I try to incorporate it like very like low key within my work. So I had a sort of flash as a foreground light. And oh, let me just get into the behind the scenes so you can see. So that foreground light off to the left, I used a Profoto A2 with a click softbox and had that connected to my Profoto Connect like on my camera, which you could see like on the hot shoe there. And then I had two continuous lights in the back, and then I was playing with like a long exposure, like sort of shutter drag throughout this concept. So what's really cool about that is when you're doing like a shutter drag with flash and continuous, the camera will like pick up the flash as like this sort of constant light, but then you're getting the flash that's like a sudden, really bright power source that is frozen in time. So you're getting really cool stuff like this where you can
Can you tell us what a
see.
shutter drag is?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So when you're shooting like normally maybe say like on your phone or your auto settings like on a bright day, your camera will kind of correct that. To be like a shutter point at like maybe 1/200th, like 1/250th, and that's like how fast you're taking the photo. And when you kind of push your shutter around like 1/3 or like 1/30th, you're getting more light within your shutter. So you're getting a lot of movement as well. But when if we incorporate the flash, we're also getting a lot of stillness too. But as I'm shooting, I'm being aware that my shutter is like kind of staying open for like 1/3 or of a second, 1/6 of a second, whatever my settings were for this, and sort of like moving my camera. So we're
Yeah,
getting
because
the
you're all
flash.
doing
Yeah.
by hand, right? Like you're not on a
Yes.
tripod, you're not on a gimbal, you're just holding
Yes.
manually.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So like you can kind of see within however long that shutter was, you can see the like movement from the continuous light and how that was kind of staying constant, and then the flash that's capturing her in focus.
Beautiful. Barbara also has joined us in the chat. Um, and then over on our poll, we've had a handful of votes. It looks like 82% of people said that they prefer digital planning over physical,
Ah,
rather than 18% of physical, which I wonder, what the services are there, but also the age
yeah.
gap there. I feel like
Oh,
I
that's really
mostly
cool.
do digital, but it's mostly just because, like, I don't want to have to organize all my physical.
Yes, yes. No, yeah, I think the only time I do physical is like the sort of lighting setups. But I love using a combination of both for sure. So there we go with that kind of like setup, and now we can kind of move into color grading these images. So I'm gonna like throw my glasses on because I swear I like can't see.
And I'll take mine
Um,
off. That way, it's a healthy ratio. Because
yes.
what I like about this stream already is that we've already been talking a lot about color, okay, and we're talking about what you can control. We're talking about lighting that you can control, but obviously that's only half of the picture here. The picture,
Yeah.
where now we're going to be moving into the digital editing, where we can then take a new approach to color, which
Totally.
is complementary or can even radically change what you did in person. So,
Yeah.
um, let's walk us through. We're right now we're in camera raw, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay,
So
cool.
I shoot all of my images within the camera as a JPEG and a RAW. I know that like then you're walking away with like tons and tons of information and a lot of like physical space that I have like lots of hard drives for. But I think for me, like
So you have a bunch of memory cards. I don't want to
yeah,
know your
there's a lot
memory card
happening.
budget.
There's a lot happening. But I really do love like how a JPEG looks straight out of the camera. Sometimes I just don't love how obviously like the quality is, especially if I'm shooting sort of at night or something. But I will sort of start within Camera Raw. And then sometimes if I color grade at this point and don't really like how the colors look, then I'll bring back like my JPEG to like overlay it. But that's only sometimes if I'm like not loving how the raw file kind of washes away some of that original color that I'm seeing. So I just kind of go through and play with like each slider within this point, and I really start with playing off of like the original image. Like I don't apply presets until a little bit later. And I really like to customize like each photo for what it is. Because I feel like each photo is like so unique. I really like to just start from like the ground up kind of. What's cool though is that obviously you can like even copy and paste edits within Camera Raw. So although you're seeing like a bunch of photos here, you're seeing like 5 different setups. I can like copy and paste my edits from here to the same setup, maybe within that like palm tree, palm leaf sort of
Especially
shoot.
if it's like a shot that's right side by side with one that you
Exactly.
took seconds
Yeah,
before.
exactly. And I didn't even used to do that. I would quite literally like color correct every single one or like use the previous sort of conversion. But I do like opening them all up within Camera Raw here and like being able to see everything laid out. And feel like especially for like the theme and the concept of today, which is like color grading that tells a story throughout your images, you're seeing like how different these images are, even though they were, created on the same day with the same model.
That's what's
Um,
so beautiful.
yeah,
It's like you
yeah,
have so many different feelings towards each shoot, but it's all, within feet from each other, and also just like different approaches give completely different feels. I
totally.
want to say hello to Andrea, who just joined us over in the YouTube chat. I did put up a new YouTube poll, which was, do you shoot in JPEG or RAW? And the
Ooh, that's a
answers
good one.
are JPEG, RAW, and the last one, which is what is RAW, which we already have a vote for. Sean's asking if this is in Photoshop or in Bridge.
So right now I am in Adobe Camera Raw, which is like if you do shoot a raw file and you open that up, the like default, if you have down like Photoshop and Camera Raw downloaded, the default of opening a raw file will be within this program. And that's where I just like to play with an image to first start because you're playing with like the raw file itself. Like you're not color grading over a JPEG, which feels kind of like flat and sort of like destructive. You're like really getting in there. And I kind of relate editing in raw to like you're still almost like in the camera. It hasn't quite like come out just yet. Like that's how I think about it. Just because I think everything can get so like technical. But I'm sort of liking where that one stands. Like I'm not doing anything crazy. I'm just kind of like trying to boost the color and keep the original skin tone for what it
And then
is.
are you
But yeah,
going off of the histogram at all? Or the metroscopes at the top right? Or are you mostly just kind of going by eye?
that's a really good question because it's crazy. I like don't even look at the histogram, which is
Yeah,
like
yeah.
honestly bad. But I think I just,
No, no, I don't think
yeah,
it's bad. I wasn't asking to be like, is it good or bad? It more
yeah,
so just I feel like it's an artistic approach. Some people are
for
scientific
sure.
about it, and other people are like, I want to go with just the feeling.
Yeah, I think I definitely go with the feeling. Like I definitely am like looking at the highlights on her shirt and I'm like, okay, these are a little bit blown out. Let's like boost those down a little bit versus this image where the shirt is not shown as much. So I'm definitely like being mindful of things like that. It's just I definitely don't take a more like scientific approach. I feel like even in like school, like I hated like math, science, all that. I always just wanted everything like visual. Um, and so I always tried to like just go off of how I feel with the image. But I also try to zoom in and see like how the grain is because I also love to use denoise, but I think these are looking pretty good. I might also just boost up like the luminance a little bit for some smoothness and then sharpen that out a bit.
Just
But
wow,
yeah, we
the
have
the
denoise
range
here.
of her skin tone is so beautiful. How it like you can get those really highlight warm yellows, and then it kind of also just like fades off into shadow, which is really neat.
Exactly. No, and her too, and the makeup artist did like such a good job at like changing up the vibe because we went from like light to dark to like outdoors and she just did a fantastic job at being able to like kind of, capture all those emotions. Um and because these images, this one and like this one are so different, I'm just gonna start by
Start
like,
fresh.
yeah, start fresh. And I think there's no issue with like trying to apply a previous conversion, but sometimes the colors might be so different. Like I don't,
It can
even
be
want to
apples
go
to
there.
oranges. Like you don't have
Exactly.
to, apply everything to
Exactly.
the same thing.
Yeah. And these are images like the ones I've got done so far that I haven't like touched yet, like outside of this live stream. So if I'm being indecisive, I guess, like that's really just how my process goes because I'm seeing these for like the first time, So I'm just trying my very best to like get these colors exactly how I like them.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna end this other poll here. We had 83% people say they shoot in RAW. No one shoots in JPEG, and 17%
Oh,
said, "What is RAW?"
okay.
Which is I love. Um, and then I'm gonna just put up another poll. We'll let this one roll for much longer.
Cool.
But I'm gonna say, which is your favorite um, shoot, or which is your favorite? What we call it? Which is your favorite scene from the shoot?
Yeah, totally. I love
Um,
that.
so we'll call the first one Ferns. The second
Yes.
one, Moody Shadow. We'll give the third one Lacey. blanket,
Yes.
and the fourth one peach blanket.
Nice. Oh, and then we do have a fifth one over here that she's hiding,
Oh no, we
which
only
is
have
like,
okay. So wait,
oh,
we have to eliminate one because we can only have four options. Which one is your least favorite child that you don't even want to offer?
maybe we should combine these two outdoor shoots.
All right, we'll do outdoor
Yeah.
verse. What was the last one?
And then that can be like the like shutter drag maybe.
Shutter drag. Yes, I even
Yeah.
asked about it. All right, cool. So I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna put that up, and we'll let that one run for much longer.
Cool. But yeah, this one that I'm editing right now has actually been really fun because the yellows and the like how I shot them feel almost like desaturated, so it's been fun to like bring those like out of um what they sort of originally were shot as. But I'm
Yeah, it's
being like
remarkable how
really,
much data it's able to pull. Even when you were messing with the exposure, the
yeah,
halo of blue around the back of her head um, kind of started to illuminate. And I was like, oh, wow, there's a whole nother halo there, um,
exactly.
which is just crazy that it is able to collect all that and adjust it accordingly.
Totally. And I'm
I
still
love
trying
the
to like
method of the little
obviously
wiggle that you have going on here, too.
I know I'm
I do
being
the
now
same thing.
I'm like locked in. So I'm like, okay, how is this image looking? But it does come a time where you need to like move on. So I think this one needs to be done and I'll copy and paste these two here like that.
And look at that. It's
Um,
just cool how much yellow it pulls out.
I know. And even like I know be like saturating different colors can feel a little bit scary because that kind of completely changes how they look maybe on location. But I think when a raw file tends to sort of make everything a little bit more neutral. I think it's like totally don't be afraid to like really go in with the color and the hue. And like this color mixer panel right now is like huge for this shoot in particular because there's so much like yellows. So you can see I boosted the yellow, like honestly all the way to the
Yeah.
top because I mean even like
Oh,
that
but
looks
even the
cool.
-100 is also kind of cool in its own way, in its own regard.
Yeah, like it's kind of moody that way, but
Tells a different story segment, and the yellow is more of an autobiography.
ooh, I like that. Yes, and no, exactly. And what's cool too is like I feel like I edit my images within like different like rounds of each other. So like this is only like the first round, and then like once I open it into Photoshop, that feels like maybe the next round, and I can even change things further. It's kind of all
For
about
sure.
just sort of getting that like nice clean slate that I kind of look for. Um, but this image feels like a lot almost easier because it's like already sort of close to how I would edit an image. It's just pretty, there's not like these crazy colors going on. It's pretty like true to tone, I guess.
Yeah. It's got like
So
white, brown, and blue. I feel
yeah,
like mostly. Maybe some
yeah,
tan there.
yeah. So there's not like all of these sort of like crazy um, colors going on like some of these previous ones.
Hmm.
So I think that looks nice. I'll just go to copy and paste.
I love the shapes of the blanket, how they kind of are blocking the light in some places, but in
Yes,
some places there's like really big areas of like, oh, that must be a big hole in the blanket because like on her chin, it's like fully lit, you know?
totally. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. And when I was shooting this, I was so like I could not see my screen, to be honest, like my camera
Yeah.
screen. I was just kind of like blindly going for it and being like, I hope these are in focus and I hope my settings are right. And that's
Trust
why,
the process.
yeah, and that's why I think these are a little bit more like they're looking, I'm having to go in within each one and sort of edit that individually because they were so like different, I guess.
Right.
So I'm kind of going in here and just this one in particular, like has a really bright, blown out background. So just going in and like again playing with every singular tool that I can, um, and seeing what
So how
we
much
get.
depth is there? So because obviously that's the roof behind her, but
Yeah,
it's obviously very blurred out. Is it kind of like overlooking a ledge, or is that just the flooring right
that
directly
was the
behind her?
floor. Yeah, that was like the flooring actually of the roof there.
Hmm.
And it was sort of like this bright white, like gray, I guess, to like not reflect all this light that's coming down from if it was like maybe like a really dark roof. And
Right.
so I did really like the contrast there. So I tried to play off that as well. And if you look over here, actually, you can see my settings near the histogram. So you can see how like low my ISO was because it was so bright out. And then you can also see like the millimeter of lens I chose and the f-stop and the settings. Um, and I can even go back and like you can check out the other settings and stuff if you're curious. But yeah, I just tend to change up my lenses and settings depending on kind of what's going on in the photo. And I think for this one, I did change it. Yeah, so like this one, I used a 24 to 70 millimeter lens, which is a really great portrait lens. But then I moved on over to the 135 just to get in some like variety. But I
Right.
do love the 24 to 70. It feels really nice when you're shooting because you can stay where you are, but you're able to like get some wide shots and close-ups as well.
So 135, you're pretty far away, right?
Yes, I was really far
Yeah.
away for this shot.
Yeah.
But it is still like a little bit of a close-up, like maybe hips up. So I was still like within reach of being able to like direct her a little bit. But
You're not shouting down like using
yeah.
like a megaphone.
Exactly, exactly. It wasn't too bad, but even for like it's funny because I capture so much like behind the scenes now on my shoots that I kind of have to think about what millimeter lens I'm using because if I'm shooting with a 135, like the behind the scenes looks so odd because I'm literally like I'm like a street away. So it's
Right.
like sometimes I'm like maybe for whether it's like a reel I'm filming or YouTube video, I'm like maybe I should use a smaller millimeter so I'm a little closer and it
Just
feels
just so you can get the
nice.
shot of you taking the shot.
Yeah, and then once we got it, we can change up the millimeter.
All right, so we're about halfway through. I want to say hello to everyone that has joined us. Like I said, if you guys have any questions as we're working through this, there are no dumb questions. I know Sean said that his question was dumb. It was not dumb. It was a great question. But we're just going through some color grading with Brandon. We thank Cody who put Brandon's portfolio in the chat, which is just brandonwoelfel.com, so you can check out his stuff there. Um,
Yeah,
and
thank
yeah,
you.
we're just working on this shoot.
Yeah, and I feel like this one, because there has a lot of sky, it might sort of relate to these. So we're just gonna copy and paste this one. You can see like sometimes I might have changed up my like settings or shutter in between shots. So this one's like a little bit brighter, and that obviously is like annoying when you're going to edit because you have to change everything, but it should be kind of not too difficult. And I'm sort of used to like going into an image and really just like starting from the ground up. Like I don't really care too much about how long a photo takes me to edit. I just kind of like I'm like, you know what, we're just gonna sit here, we're just gonna have a nice little like tea next to me and go for it.
Oh, here's a good question from Marcy. How did you get the
Yeah.
film strip in Camera Raw? I usually only get the photo I've opened.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's funny. I also would edit that way until like somewhat recently. Is all you have to do is select multiple raws and then you'll open it um like this. And it was something I just like uncovered myself. I was like, oh, I guess I can do this. And it feels really nice because you're not having to do like you don't have to play your previous edit every single time.
And
So
you're just
that's
holding
really
shift
helpful.
down and like selecting multiple files and then just opening
Yeah,
it.
exactly. The one thing,
Sean Sean says I like to use my 200 millimeter for headshots. They have no idea where I
yeah, it's very much that, very much
am.
that. Um, But one thing I too wanted to mention about this is I'll try to remind myself too, but when you're going to open these files, you have to make sure to select all of them. So like if I were to just press open right here, right now, it would only open this one. And
Oh, that's smart.
I don't know if we would lose our edits because I think Camera Raw does a pretty good job at like storing what you've done in like some sort of like DNG file or something near your raw file, but you definitely want to be like mindful that that could happen if you only select that one.
No, certainly don't want to lose all your hard work.
No, that's like the war. I mean, that's just every photographer's like nightmare. But this one in particular is really funny. I love how it's like kind of the fabric is sort of like being used as almost like a diffuser in a way.
Yeah.
Versus this one where like clearly she's getting that bright sunlight like onto her forehead here and her cheek. So it's really just fun being able to play around with light and even bringing something like this fabric, which I also bought online really cheap, and just getting really creative with your shoots. Like I feel like if the fabric weren't there, it would just be like a white, like a blue sky, and that's fun, but I love
No,
playing off
love the
color
blue.
and it makes things so much fun.
You're also playing with translucency because the obviously the side of the glasses are very translucent, and then there's a little
Yes.
bit of transparency to the blanket, but then her blazer is just solid as a rock. You know, there's no
Yeah,
light going through that. Um,
totally.
so I like that kind of connection between
Yeah.
everything. Also,
Now we
it's funny
have,
seeing the poll with the favorite scene from the shoot because it keeps slowly changing the more that we continue to edit photos as we move along.
oh,
So
really?
Moody Shadow is definitely winning, and now it's kind of tied with Outdoor Blankets. Um, so I'm excited to see as people continue to vote over on YouTube what your favorite
That's
shot.
really, that's so funny. I love that. If I had to choose, honestly, I think these ones are my favorite because I didn't
Yeah,
even like the edit, I feel like brought it to life, which is really cool. But what I just
known
did
as Moody
now,
Shadow.
yes, okay, there you go. I'm like, if you want to vote for that one. What
You're
I
like
did just
never
now.
again, never again will I let someone else name my work.
No, I'm here for it. I'm here for it, honestly. Um, but what I did just now was actually copy and paste this edit to this one, and it does feel really blue. But if we
Right,
just kind of boost the temperature there, it brings back some of that like original skin tone, which I love. And I
lots of
think it's,
purples.
yeah, it's because like these images were both shot like pretty dark and like contrasted. So I feel like just being mindful of what when you're editing to save time, which sort of shoots and photos relate to another, so you can try to do your best to maybe copy and paste the work you've already done, so you can just move along your shoot a little bit quicker.
I love the conversation that's still going on about lenses in the chat. Oliver says, someone asked me if I'd shoot their wedding once, and I said that with my kit, I'd have to shoot it at either a macro distance or from the car park through a window.
But honestly, sometimes those are the best photos
Those
because
are sometimes those are the best photos. I like the
they look
shallow
so nice.
depth that happens when you're going from so far away. That's what I really like.
Yeah, everything feels like so compressed and like it just looks like really gorgeous, honestly.
But I also really like this recent acknowledgement and trend of the shutter drag. I think it's something where we've come full circle. For the longest time, we wanted all of our pictures to look perfect, maybe in the 2010s, and now
Yeah.
it's kind of like play with the medium. Like, obviously, you can take a picture with your phone for anything, but to have the artistry
Yeah.
is so nice to have.
Yeah. And this is also why I like being able to like get like capture so many different vibes within a shoot because like
Yeah.
sometimes you get home and you're like, you know what, that didn't really completely work out. Like maybe next time I would do this a little differently, but we still have all these other images and different looks that we can still pull from and deliver. Um, which is my favorite part, is just walking away with so much that I can like post for like months and months, really.
Right. I think
So
this one
now
might be my favorite right there. I know that's biased, and that might be adjusting the poll, but I think this one's my favorite.
this one that's shown right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank
It's
you.
like it's so beautifully framed. I like how it has the offset of like her subject off to the side, and
Yeah.
then specifically kind of like that hint of purple just down the whole left side and on her arm is so
Yes, from the
nice.
continuous light, so fun.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm going to open everything into Photoshop. So I made sure to select everything here. So let's hope we're all good. And this might take a second just because we did edit a bunch here.
Right.
But usually I will take, honestly, like sometimes even longer than I just did within Camera Raw.
Mm-hmm.
It all just sort of like depends on what I'm going for. Like I won't ever really edit like a whole shoot like at once. I think I'll take like a few days to edit like one sort of concept and then from there I'll sort of like come back to it. I feel like similar to like how like a painter might work or how they might like shift their canvas like to the side or like they step back from it. Like I think that's super important when like editing and going throughout like a photo process because I used to like edit my images like super fast. Like
Yeah.
that same day, just like edit, post it, get it up. And then the next day I would sort of look at it and be like, you know what? I don't know if I love like what I did there, you know?
Yeah. And giving yourself space just to be able to refresh and come at it with new eyes.
Totally, totally. And even like looking at your computer screen at a different time of day. Like right now, I'm in my basement in my apartment, and like it feels really nice and like low lit, other than this ring light that's in front of me. But I've at times wanted to like, take my computer outside and edit in the sun, especially in the summer, like under an umbrella. But then you like come inside and you're like, what did I just do? Like the colors are trash. Like I don't know what I just did. And then you kind of waste time, but you know. I feel like it helps to kind of come back to an image. So I always kind of do that. But since this one is your favorite, I'm starting with the first. I feel like that
Thank
I
you.
kind of
I'm
have
flattered.
to.
Sean's asking, since you spend so much time in Camera Raw, how come you use Photoshop instead of Lightroom?
That's a good question. And I want to like get more into Lightroom. I think it's just I'm very like once I start and learn a program, like I'm very like, okay, that's what I know and that's like what I'll get into. And I know that like the regular sort of Lightroom does have the same or similar interface as Camera Raw, but I think I just like having, especially when I open it up into Photoshop, like I love having full control like over everything from like the skin to like maybe expanding the background, and I just feel like it gives me more control. But now I'm using a fun little technique like on the filter panel called like medium, and this is what I will use to sort of blend out um, backgrounds, and sometimes it is a little bit slow, especially since we're streaming, like it might take a second, so bear with me, but it'll sort of like blur everything into this like I don't need like Mod Podge of colors, and um from there I'll either use a mask or I'll just erase the subject to have the sharp subject on the layer underneath kind of appear through. But when you're shooting with like a backdrop, per se, like there could be like, wrinkles or marks from like stepping on it, like a white like cyc wall a lot of the time like doesn't get repainted after um or before you shoot most of the time. So I'm just gonna go and I should be masking, but sometimes we just want to get it
Yeah,
done.
you're
So we're just
crazy for
gonna
this. You're destructive for that. You're crazy for that. But
I know, but
I can't
I
judge an artist's process. You're the expert. But you're crazy for that.
no, I know I am. I know I am. But at least I acknowledge it, I guess. I'm like I could
Yeah,
use a
you're
mask, but
self-aware.
I'm not. So
I
maybe
do love
go.
the tip for median, by the way, because sometimes when I'm editing photos, I use like Gaussian blur or something, and
Oh
I think
yeah,
that probably median probably works better for getting averages and kind of the idea of a space rather than just kind
totally.
of
So
unfocusing it.
yeah, you can see like what little it did, but those little details and changing things up like that really do make a difference. Like you just have to be really detail oriented when you're like editing images. So from there also like what I didn't talk about was I'll use like the patch tool to like just get rid of some blemishes. And then I also love like the mixer brush, which is kind of odd, I feel like for editing skin, but I feel like I just will like sort of blend it into one another on any like sort of rough parts, but I don't ever want to go too crazy with it. So then I will also like kind of sharpen that up and just kind of
Yeah.
go in
Do
there.
you have an order of operations where you normally run into a photo, or is it kind of similar to when you're working on the colors and everything else, where it's just going off of the composition first?
Yeah, I think I do, and it's kind of become like maybe at first when I've been editing it seems like a little chaotic, but I think I've always started now with editing skin first. So I will like patch tool, mixer brush, like do all of that jazz. And then I'll start to like correct. Now I'm going in with like levels to just correct some of the highlights and shadows. And I think this is one part where I actually will use like the histogram to like kind of reference it. But it's funny for me, I always leave cropping to like the very, very end. I think I just get sometimes scared that it will like, the canvas will kind of save that crop for like ever and I can't go back to it. So sometimes
Yeah.
I get scared of that and I actually will save cropping for my phone sometimes.
Oh wow,
Um,
really? Like that, the real end be all, not even
yes.
like within the file.
No, yeah. I will like make sure that like it's as shot and then like when I like airdrop it to my phone, I'll like then move forward with like cropping from there because I don't know, it just works for me. But yeah, I'm
Cool.
going in now with like a selective color adjustment layer. So just getting even really like detailed and fine-tuned with the colors that I chose. And this is a
Got that
really
wiggle.
the
Always
wiggle's
got the wiggle.
happening.
Selective color is like my favorite filter that I tend to use on top of things, just because, especially when you go to like the neutrals and stuff, and you can add stuff. Um,
Yes.
but I do the same exact thing where I normally go to black and I normally wiggle the black just to see like, okay, what is this adjusting straight up?
Yes.
Um, but definitely a favorite of mine.
Yeah, and it's funny now that I recently updated my Photoshop and now I see like the colors are actually like there. I don't know if they like were before in like selective color in my they was more of just like the label. And so it's
Mm,
funny seeing like the physical color there now that I'm doing this.
yeah.
Um, but this is something I like the wiggles going crazy, but I just kind of go in and try to see which colors are really coming through. Right now there's obviously like a lot of magenta, a lot of blue, and focusing in on um those sort of colors within um my adjustments. And from here, will sometimes like dodge and burn, but um, more recently, I've been liking to like bring my images back into Camera Raw to do things like that. So I know like the way I work is like kind of like I'm weaving in and out of things, and now we're sort of working off like a flat layer that could be destructive. So bringing it back into Camera Raw like kind of makes no sense in a way, but I love like working off of the presets also that Camera Raw has to offer. And I do have some of my own here, but I feel like when I see a lot of like when I see an image, I kind of can tell like maybe which pack of presets will kind of work well off of an image. And for this, I feel like the cinematic packs or the vintage packs would look really good. So kind of going down the line and seeing what it does to my image. And obviously there's a lot of like bright colors, contrasting colors happening. So these cinematic packs are like really going crazy with it, especially like over here. Like that's a little bit crazy. So I might veer away from something like that. But
Starting to get euphoria
um
vibes.
yes, yes. But this feels really pretty, this like vintage pack right here. So I think I'm gonna go with this and just kind of like tone it down. Um, and throughout my process, I'll kind of like do this like over and over again and just like kind of play with the opacity as I go. So sometimes I have like multiple layers and I of course should be like naming them and being organized, but that's just sometimes not who I am. So we're gonna skip that right now. But like I will then maybe even put this selective color layer over that and see what it changes and just play around with the ordering of sort of my layers as well. Brings like a new light to the work you've already done. So although I do a lot of work from scratch, it's really fun to be able to like see what we've already played with and change up kind of the ordering and the sort of perspective, I guess.
Also, in the chat,
Yeah.
Oliver's saying you can untick delete cropped pixels in Photoshop. Then it's not permanent.
Oh, okay.
So
I
that's
need
cool. Good to
to
know.
get on that because I think for me, I like am just like I'm used to the crop being like, one and done,
Life
can never go
changing.
back. Yes.
Kind of like not using a mask.
Exactly. Come for me, come for me. No, it's so valid.
A quick
That's
update
so
on the
funny.
poll. Right now, outdoor blankets is winning by a narrow
Oh,
margin. It's at
okay.
42%.
Okay.
Um, but
It's
shadow drag is increasing. People are into it.
Ooh,
See?
whenever you work on it, they like, okay,
Okay.
I see how
Whoa, look
the,
at those reflections in her left eye.
I know that's actually
Or her right
insane.
eye, our left. Like, but that is
Yes,
so cool.
yes, 100%. And what's fun about this is because there's so much like contrast going on. I'm like also being just a little bit destructive here by dodging burning like on the layer, but we can
Mhm.
like bring that out a little bit too by dodging and burning.
Oh,
Um,
so cool.
and just kind of like boosting some of those like shadows that we don't completely want, but that might be a little bit too much. But it almost what's funny is I'm like now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like her eye had like might have been tearing like on location. Like I remember her being like, I got something in my eye. So like it's
She was
funny
just
how
moved
like
by the shoot.
yeah, it was so moving. Um but I think this would also be a good image to use the sort of median technique on because although we're also seeing like some grain over there, we still want the grain to like match what's going on like on her. But I'm seeing just like sort of like texture from the backdrop happening. So we can kind of go through there. And if you were curious last time, I went to filter noise median. And then obviously, like Ryan said, you could also go with Gaussian blur or just there's lots of different methods to like clean a backdrop, but I like
But I'm
how
here
it
for
kind of
median. I
like,
want to try it out. I just had never thought,
yeah,
I never really
yeah,
knew much about it. So, um,
yeah.
Manuel is
I like how
asking,
it sort of, oh, go for it.
Manuel is asking, just it looks great. How do you make sure the resolution stays the same when exporting?
So with exporting, I don't do anything special. I just like go to save as or save as copy and then make sure my I can try that right now, but like I just make sure go to JPEG here and then I just make sure like it's at the highest possible quality here and I always have it on like baseline standard
Mhm.
and that's all I do. I don't do anything like special.
But you're
Um
normally exporting to just JPEG, not to like PNG or anything.
Yes, I'll export through JPEG. Sometimes clients will want me to also, I'm going to make a mask just for you. Um, Sometimes clients will want me to export as like a TIFF because I think those are sometimes even bigger.
Mhm.
But it just, for me, like sometimes my images are just going on social and I don't need, I'm already shooting raw in JPEG. Like I'm like, I don't need even more
More
space
storage.
there. Yeah.
Yeah. Gonna have to get a whole
So
server space soon.
yeah, exactly. So again, oh, we're getting some of the hair. I missed that. Um, but you can see very subtle, but I think it makes a big difference to be honest. And it's just, I feel like it's choices like that that really like elevate your images from being something that someone with like a different eye than you might see that. Like I feel like when I see images, I'm always like looking at the backdrop and I'm like, okay, is it clean? Like how is it looking? So just being mindful of things like that. But yellow on the selective color layer right now is super fun because there's so much yellow happening. And if we had more time too, we could like select her and like have her skin tone remain exactly how it is, but then also change the backdrop color like completely. So um, that is something we could totally do.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to just like piecemeal
Isolate.
kind of together different parts and adjust just the color of one spot.
Totally, totally. And then sometimes I'll play with like gradient maps, which are really fun, especially for like a photo like this, which feels like stylized. So I have a few downloaded from like friends of mine or ones like I bought. And these obviously like go crazy,
Whoa.
but I'm like, that looks kind of cool.
Yeah.
And what we could do is again like isolate her and like have her remain as she was within that original color grade, but like keep that colorful background or something
Hmm.
like that. Like that could be really cool. It's all
And just
just like,
experiment to get you thinking.
yeah, like, and I also feel like when I go through these and see like the crazy amounts of colors that it's like throwing at me,
Yeah.
and then I go back to like the original file, like the colors like look different to me. Like it like kind of cleanses your eye a little bit, I
Yeah.
feel like.
And so, just for people's reference here for gradient maps, if you've never used them before, it's just saying all the way to the far left is black, all the way to the far right is white. And using that scale as a frame of reference by applying a color, you can say whenever anything was supposed to be, gray, now it can be blue. Or, rather than your white highlights, it can be purple. Um,
Exactly.
so, it's fun to be able to play with those as well.
And I kind of just like quickly did it. Like obviously we're getting some
Wow, very
like
cool.
what we could play with like maybe the opacity a little bit. Ooh, I like that a lot actually. Just playing off like what's already there. I feel like my images aren't
Yeah.
super like edited in a way. Like I used to go crazy with the edit, like adding things that weren't there. And sometimes I've obviously using like generative fill to like expand the background. But I like the idea of like playing with opacity and adding just a little pop, you know.
Okay. All right. Well, we are just at about time. I'm going to go ahead
Hmm.
and end our poll. The winner. Oh, we have no winner. It's tied. It's tied between Moody Shadow and Outdoor Blankets. So if anyone
Okay, I
wants to
kind
give
of
us
love
one more
that.
vote, we can close it out. But otherwise, is there anything else you want to add before we say goodbye for the day?
I mean, I could just keep editing all day, but I just want to say thank you guys for joining along, giving your feedback. And it's been super fun.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for coming on. Make
Yeah.
sure if you guys are watching, you stay tuned because we've got office hours coming up next with Nick and Andrew. They're taking an exciting design and intentionally making it as dull and lifeless as possible, only to bring it back to life. It's a great way to explore visual hierarchy, contrast, and what not to do in design. So you'll be pushed over to that right after this show. Make sure you guys join the Adobe Live Discord so you can talk when we're offline as well, and you can stay up to date with all the shows. And then, of course, follow uh, the portfolio that Cody put in for
Oh, thank
Brandon.
you.
And then where can we find you on social media?
Yeah, I'm just at Brandon Woelfel everywhere, like TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Just search my name and you'll find me there. We can chat.
All right. Well, we look forward to seeing stuff, and I hope to see these pictures also on social media as well.
Oh, they will be. They will be. Once I'm done.
Once you're done, yeah. All right. Well, take care.
Thank you, though.
Bye.
See you later.